Right, that was, of course, the news. Before that, we had Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine. And we're moving on now. We've got Anne Laure Jackson joining me as ever. I'm getting the right number. This is our 100th, and is it 102nd, 102nd interview, which is cool.
That'll do. It's great to be here.
I don't know. Is it 102nd? Is it 102nd, 100?
I don't know. Need to find a mathematician. Or somebody, not a wordsmith, actually. It's probably a mathematician would just be quite happy with 102, but
probably 102. Let's go with that. I remember when I went to France and we were told how to do the time. You always tell the time and then you count down. If it's past half, it's always the next hour minus however many minutes. And I remember thinking, well, that's stupid. Who does that? Well, the French do. Okay, fair enough. Went to France and every French person I met said, yeah, it's 5:35, it's 5:40. Not one of them was doing mathematics when they were doing the time telling. I just thought, I told my teacher I didn't think they would do that. Well, it's the correct way, he said, but, you know, the correct way, and then there's life.
There you go. But it's also the fact the French do the 24 hours. That's kind of like, oh, what's that again? Like, yeah.
Which some people do and some don't. I like 24-hour clock. I know some don't. They prefer the AM, PM. Me, I prefer to say it's 2300, not 11 PM. But hey, the world is full of different people. And if we're all the same, we really genuinely would be a very boring place. Now, national days. I don't normally do national days when you're on the radio. However, there is a national day of interest on my little sheet in front of me, which is ASMR Day, which, if memory serves, is the thing that people like sounds. Have I got the right name for that?
SMAR.
ASMR.
ASMR. What does it say in front of you on your little piece of paper?
Not a lot. I'm just hoping that someone in the office is going to confirm. If you're listening office, can you just confirm this for me? Because that would be really super helpful. I thought ASMR was where people like sounds. So they'll watch a video, and the reason they're watching it is they like the sound of a box opening or a door closing, and it's the sound of something that they find quite relaxing. I'm just hoping the office are going to, at some point, listen and respond.
But yeah, no. So I don't know what that is, but that is brilliant. I was just literally at I'm singing at a wedding, and I was down there for the rehearsal, and the lady who was working out the sound, you know, in the church, was saying to me that she's got incredible hearing, but not very good eyes. So we were trying to work things out with how was this going to work best with her hearing system, with the echo of the church, with the sound system that's not really set up for for lots of things, but we were just like working things through. So it's like, so your ASMR people are people who enjoy the sounds of it's the sounds of a video rather than the visual of a video. Is that what you're saying? What you think?
Yeah. So we did a video where I opened up the latest edition of the Pure Media magazine. So it comes in a box. So we ripped open the cardboard as like a sort of serrated thing. So you rip open that, you slice open the paper, and you hold it. You open the magazine, and we had the camera so you could hear the pages flicking, and all of that noise. I believe someone's typing in the office. I'm hoping they're going to confirm this. Is people who enjoy. Oh, hang on. Stephen says ASMR, I believe, is a sensation set off by sounds, which is almost like euphoria. I get it from time to time with the sound of a page flicking. So it's triggering an emotional response from an auditory stimulation, usually on a video.
Yes.
There's one for you to consider for us from a sensory perspective.
Yeah, and that is definitely the job that you need to be in. You know, you need to be in some form of what do you call it when you sound effects, basically. You know, you need to be a sound effects person if those kind of things bring you joy. So a lot of my time at the minute, what I'm doing is that I'm talking to a lot of people, finding where are they going to thrive in the workplace. So we're coming out of being, you know, a toddler, coming out of primary school, coming out of secondary school, coming out of those teenage years and into the workplace. What is going to be your best fit? So at the moment, my head is very much in that space of, right, okay, I hear something like that, and I'm already thinking, oh, we need to find you a kind of work. We need to get you into the movie industry. We need to get you into films. We need to get you into sound effects on whatever, whether it be radio or TV or whatever. But if that is something that brings joy, which it will do, and all our different senses will bring us that sense of joy, that sense of euphoria, that contentment. We're all going to be at different levels with it, but that's something that's really, if you know that is you, then that's an area to go into, because it's an area of strength and it's also an area of pleasure, and we need to be finding those things that do us well, and therefore we can serve other people better because we're in jobs that we really love doing.
I have now got the acronym broken down into real words. ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response.
That is completely new for me. So great. Hurrah. That is something for me to go and have a look at. But autonomous sensory, does that mean, I wonder if that means like each individual sense? So this one's talking about the auditory system and whether each individual sense will have its own autonomy and bring some form of response.
There is I'm going to say a definition. I'm not going to say it's the definition because it's the internet, and we don't trust everything on the internet, even if it's in a white coat with a beard. Not going to happen. And so apparently a relaxing, tingling sensation that usually begins on the scalp, moves down the neck and the spine, often triggered by soft sounds, for example, whispering or tapping. Yes, judging by your face, you're thinking what I was thinking of. What? Isn't that just called, it's a nice sound? Now we have to give it a name, apparently.
Yep.
Yeah. It's called enjoying noises. I mean, it's fair enough. Everyone wants their national day and their little acronym. I think it feels like sometimes. But yeah, it's so for example, someone might like the sound of a box opening, or the sound of felt or something, I don't know. Because of course, on the opposite end of things that we enjoy, like ripping a box open or something, or paper ripping or something, you've got fingernails on a chalkboard.
That's exactly where I went. You know, I was there before you, so it was just, there are certain things that you just do not want to be exposed to ever again in your lifetime, and that for me is definitely one of them. We have to be of a certain generation to understand that. There's younger ones listening who will be thinking like, "What was that?"
Yeah, Stephen's saying chalk on chalkboard. The chalkboard one with the fingernails is the worst. Yes, I wonder how many people, as I said that, had a shiver from the sound of the nail on the chalk being scratched across the surface.
Be quiet, Mr. B. Just no.
Sorry. And that's the opposite end of ASMR. I don't know what that is. Unpleasant ASMR, I suppose. Reversed. But the thing is, sound does stuff. I mean, music. People can listen to a piece of classical music and say, "Oh, I love that. That's beautiful." Or opera, and they'll enjoy that. But then they'll say of heavy metal, "Oh, that's just noise. I can't cope with that." Me, I'm the opposite. Opera, you can keep that. Thanks very much. You go off and have a nice time. Give me some heavy metal. I also like classical music, so I do actually like a very, very wide breadth of music, but music moves us. I've watched it. Did I share this example with you? I was running a youth club one time, and someone put on some music that was like really heavy rock, heavy metal. And the children it was a really rough area in Wolverhampton, inner city, very rough kids, lovely, but just a rough area. Someone put some heavy metal, and I'm thinking, I'm not sure this is the best music for this situation. And they just kind of went up a gear into almost hyperactivity kind of level. And after that, it's like, do you know, we should play some classical music, and then it all calmed down. And I actually witnessed it just by changing the style of music. It changed the attitude. Now that's just someone who likes heavy metal, but time and a place.
Yeah. Time and a place, absolutely. If I'm allowed to enjoy with singing in this church earlier today, the acoustics were phenomenal. I mean, you could tell these places are designed for music to travel and to travel unacoustically. And I think because it was much more the natural voice, again, it's that natural thing, the way that God's created us. There are certain vibrations, there are certain frequencies, there are certain things that should be pleasurable, but I have to admit that I was really enjoying the experience. I know it was me singing, if I'm allowed to say that, but it was just the environment was gorgeous, and the reverb, the natural reverb in that place. It was a beautiful, and it was very calming. I mean, it's a calming song. Well, I'm singing a couple of songs, but just what it does to your whole body when you get involved in music, whether it be you producing it or receiving it. But yeah, it definitely, yeah, impacts us significantly, does music. It really does.
But you can't say, I don't think anybody should be able to say, oh, that music is really bad for you. I hate that music. It's really annoying. Because to you, maybe to somebody else, the thing that you love, they will hate and detest with a vehement passion, because we are all different. And how the music moves us emotionally is going to change, whether we like the frequency of a bass guitar, for example, low frequency, which goes through your stomach in a different way. And that's going to be the same in an opera and the heavy metal concert. It's going to be the same bass. Basically, it's frequency, low frequency, and it's going to move you in certain ways. Opera, not my thing at all. But the low frequency is going to move us in a way that something like a classical instrument or orchestral arrangement is not going to do. Some of the pop songs probably won't do that. So actually, physiologically, I wonder, and that's an interesting thought, I wonder how much our bodies affect the music that we like over our emotional preferences.
And that is where the sensory input comes in. Because I know that there are when especially our teenage lads go into needing the music up loud or wanting the bass up deep, that is definitely sensory driven. Because I don't it's not rebellion, but because their bodies are changing so much, having those deeper frequencies go through their body enables them to feel connected to who they are. So there is definitely some sensory elements to the music that we choose. And there are times I think in our lives when it is even more sensory driven, subconsciously, rather than actually what the music is or the genre of music or whatever. It's how we choose to engage with that music and how we can tweak things or up the bass if we've got a speaker next to us. Or yeah, there is definitely an element of choice coming from something other than what we might think of.
I thought this might have been a generalization, but actually, I don't think it is. I would say something like heavy metal, thrash metal, generally speaking, you tend to see more men enjoying that kind of music in concerts than you would see women. And it's just got me wondering why. And is it something to do the way that God's designed us? Because obviously men and women are very different. We express our emotions very differently. We share some of the same ones. Of course we do. We can be happy and sad. But there is an aggression to a male which is really healthy, which would probably be less common in a woman. And I wonder whether some of that is actually being driven helpfully by some of the musical styles. I'm asking questions because now my brain's just wondering, I wonder why. Why is it this and why that?
And it's really interesting with one of my sons being significantly into drumming. So he plays an awful lot of stuff to me. But there is one type, and like heavy metal, I was never, ever, I wouldn't go near it, wouldn't touch it. I was very concerned spiritually as to what was going on. But he's introduced me to certain things. I just think, oh, right, okay. It's not there's more to this than I was aware of before. But when he's now talking about opera, when he's now showing me these these groups, this style of music where you actually have these female singers, I'm thinking, I missed my vocation. I should have been like that. That is me. I'm just thinking, put me on the stage, put me with a metal band, and let me just belt this music that is classical or otherwise. That would have been my dream. Like, okay, occupational therapy, I love it, and and everything else that I do, and business building, and I love it. But oh boy, like listening to that stuff the first time I heard it, I just thought that is it. That would have been me had I known this was available in the past, or this could have been a possibility. That would have been me. I would have been up there. So I now understand my son's drive to to be a professional musician and do the things that he does, because goodness me, I was quite surprised at the impact of what that did to me musically.
I didn't expect that conversation, that you wanted to be a heavy metal singer. Who knew?
And what's this? I have told him, look, if he goes on tour, if he finds me something, because he knows my voice, he knows what I can do, and it's just like, right, Matt, okay, you hear something, and your mum's there.
Now,
so who knows?
I don't know if I'm allowed to have a preference, but I really do like a female-fronted heavy metal band. I think there is something about the female vocal against the sort of harshness of the heavy metal. And I love all of that. Bands like The Letter Black and Firefly, Ignescent, and there are many, many more, Lacey Sturm. Some of these bands, the combination of the two does something very special. Now, I like lots of other bands, War of Ages and Disciple and male-fronted bands, but I do especially like a female-fronted heavy metal band. There is something I think especially powerful about that. On the flip side, a male-fronted band who are heavy metal, who does a really soft ballad song, blows my mind and my hair stands on end and I get chills throughout my entire body, because that is seemingly even more powerful.
There you go. There you go. I think that blend, maybe it is that blend of that the male female, you get the best of both. And I think with that, if you've got the sensitivity, the femininity of the male coming out with that lightness, if I can use that word, and then just the femininity of it actually being a female and bringing what a female brings into that experience, because heavy metal I think is essentially much more masculine. I'm probably using the wrong kind of words, but that's what it feels like to me. It's like it's just more intense and more powerful and more full on, and you pair that with some of the more feminine aspects, and it's that lovely blend of male and female.
Now, when I started this conversation and I mentioned the soft, soothing sounds that can cause a chill down your spine, I did not anticipate a few things. One, Anne Laure Jackson of Santé saying, "Oh, I really fancy being a heavy metal singer." That's not on my bucket list of things I thought I'd hear today. I also didn't think about the blend of male and female in that arena. And specifically, it's got me really asking the question about the physiology of the human and the female bodies, which are obviously very different for different reasons, and how much of a factor that has on the music we like, because we're talking about audio frequencies ultimately, aren't we? And how much of what we hear changes what we like, and also how we listen to it. Because I've been to concerts, and Big Church Festival is one that we're going to be at this year, and you get the full, complete, unadulterated experience of loud music, and I love it. I'm looking forward to seeing LZ7 at Illuminate blasting out what he does. It's going to be brilliant. I'm not going to feel the music while I'm watching him, while I'm hearing it. It's a very, very immersive experience. But it's got me wondering whether listening through headphones or going to a concert would also be a significant factor in the sort of music that we prefer.
And I think that's why you are so beautifully positioned where you are behind your desk, to be able to pick and choose and to feed your listeners a whole range of different types of music, so that regardless of what their sensory profile, what their sensory thumbprint, as I like to call it, is like, there is going to be something that will appeal to where they're at cognitively in their thinking, for what music will do to enable the brain's thinking power to be creative, to allow those higher frequencies to bring out creative expression, so that your artists might want to listen to higher frequencies so that they can be a lot more fluid and a lot freer while they listen to you on radio, while they're creating things. And then you've got those who need that, who want the intensity of the deep bass and the richness and the immersive experiences and stuff. So with you being behind a desk and in control of music, you can meet so many different people's sensory needs, as well as, you know, what they like the words of, what they like the frequencies of, and the lightness, and obviously the pace, because the pace of music and the timing and the rhythm of it all also affects us physically and what it does to our bodies.
Now, something like rave music, which obviously was very big for different reasons, and there was a very clear link to drug taking back in the day, but there was something specific about the music at a certain tempo that then stimulates dance. Now, that's got nothing to do with any of the other stuff that was around that environment, but the music tempo, how fast the tune was, how fast that repetitive drum was, that was really important, because it kind of stirred your heart to want to dance. So I know there was other stuff going on and some of that wasn't good, but actually the music itself, it was fascinating to look at. I studied music at school. I failed, but I studied it, But there was something about rave music that was fascinating, because it's the rhythm and the tempo, and there's some similarity to some of I think it was an Amazon jungle village where they had a similar sort of rhythm of music, different music, of course, but the drum pattern was basically the same. And they watched the pattern alone creating in people this innate desire to want to move faster just because of a specific rhythm, which was then replicated in rave music, which is why people want to dance so much.
There you go. There's so much to music on so many levels that's really, really powerful, really important. And I know, like when my parents had a had a guest house, and when it came to the sitting, that the tempo of the music was important for them as to how quick how quick they needed the first sitting and then the second sitting. So it's kind of like having faster music just to enable people to eat quicker, and then they could move on to the next, sitting. And I'm sure there's so much, music psychology would be fascinating as to what music from that side of it, from a psychological perspective, not a sensory perspective, but what it does and how it changes behavior.
Now, I went to a classical music concert once. It was amazing. There was a very much full orchestra, all string instruments. And the very last song, the very last little chorus part of this particular song, the pipe organ in this enormous building suddenly kicked in. And I remember crying and not understanding why I felt so emotional at the end of this concert, which is very, very good. I was only young. But once the pipe organ kicked in, with some low frequency noises, something triggered in me tears. My hair went on end. I had chills down my spine. I was so unbelievably moved in a way I'd never encountered before or since, by the way, from that one concert. And that right there, that's the power of being immersive, of being immersed in music and the effect it can do. And if it can do good, well, it can do bad.
Yeah. And it's really interesting in the when I did some research for the Sensory Healthy Church program that I was then able to put into just to facilitate and give to churches and say, look, you need to pay attention to the sensory needs of your people if you want them to actually come to church. But it was interesting, the research that was done actually, that the pipe organ, just as much as a band, was, as you say, negative. There are some really positives for some people, but really negative too, in the power of a pipe organ, just as much as in the intensity of the sound systems and the bands that are too loud, for want of a better word. And it was just as much negative, regardless of instrument. And it wasn't just it wasn't just a modern day thing. As in the modern acoustics and our sound systems, it was just as much an issue for some, having the pipe organs as a negative. Obviously, for some, it is hugely positive. And that's where it's trying to find just getting your sensory fit with who you are and how you are and what your sensory needs actually are.
Now, I was in my local supermarket recently, and I discovered, and I know I'm not going to go into a conversation we've had many times, but on the doors you walked in, it said very clearly, we've got quiet times for our customers on such and such a days at this time. When you come in this time, there'll be no tannoy. We've turned off or turned down the bleeps on the machines. And I remember saying to one of my sons at the time, right, let's log that, because I really get annoyed by the beeps. Don't know why, it just really irritates me. One supermarket really close, incredibly loud, deafening. There was a supermarket we used to live near that I actually got a headache from. I said, please, can you turn this down? It's literally giving me a headache. Oh, well, we've got to leave it loud for the old people. That's great. I don't want to have my deafness advanced, thanks very much. And then there's another supermarket, which is a lovely, gentle little tonal sort of beep. It's barely a beep, but it's enough to know you've done something. And it did make me think about some of the noises that we allow, I suppose, or that we feel we have no choice. And I will challenge supermarkets quite frequently, if it's really loud, saying, you need to turn that down. That's quite an aggressive noise. It's making me feel, because the beep's traveling through me, it's making me feel quite agitated. And it does, because the kind of a beep, it's for no small reason that people like Microsoft and Google and other big players in the software industry spend an absolute fortune on their little 3-note jingles that they use, because they want it to make an impact. They don't want it to irritate you. They don't want to upset you. They want to make you comfortable. And there is a whole industry in 3-note music. It's true. I remember this in music school. I failed, but I studied it. But there are 3-note tunes, and they're really powerful. And there are some really clear ones, or 3 or 4 or 5 notes, but very short pieces of music. But they're created not to annoy you, not to irritate, not you to wind you up, but just to entice you in. Windows was one of those classic ones. Microsoft Windows, there's a noise. I always turn it off, but you can have a noise when you turn your computer on. If you are so inclined, mine gets silenced, or I turn the speakers off. I don't want to be shouted at that the computer's switching on, but these noises stimulate stuff within us.
Yeah, and I think it's really powerful when the voice of being able to say something, because we've had supermarkets for years. How long has it taken for us to have quiet hours? And that's a long time when you consider, people have always had sensory needs, but it's because of the voice of people actually saying, can you turn that down? Enough people have spoken in order for people to listen. And that's now why we have quiet hours. But I would say if you are struggling with something, anybody who's listening, if you are struggling with something, continue to have those respectful conversations, because it's only through talking, it's only through raising awareness, it's only showing people who have typical nervous systems and typical sensory processing that this stuff actually makes a difference. This stuff does hurt. This stuff does impact how well you feel. And in a few tweaks, especially if you can give them a suggestion rather than just a complaint, then that's only going to make society better for everybody. Because there are loads of people that be going into quiet hours in the supermarket. They won't be missing the noise or the tannoys or everything else, and the lights are a bit quieter. And most people will probably think, oh, it's nice at the end of a hard day. They can actually come in and it's just a bit easier on their sensory systems because it's been full on for them for the rest of the day. So it's most of these things suit more of us than I think people realize.
I wonder whether they should do a different experiment. We're going to have a loud hour. They're going to turn everything on up to max, and let's see how many people walk out the supermarket. That would probably be quite a loud experiment, wouldn't it?
I would love to see that. I really would love to see that. Oh, somebody listening, please take this on. But you have to video it, and you have to tag Santé or Anne Laure Jackson and Andy B, so that we can actually see that. Oh, that would be fascinating.
But this is the thing about sounds, noise, music, talking. It's communication one way or another, and it impacts in a myriad of ways. Me, opera, no thanks. Heavy metal, rock, pop, classical, yep, great, bring it on. But it affects us. But actually, our voices can have a positive impact, like music can have a negative and positive impact. How we talk. Are we talking aggressively at the customer service person in the supermarket? Are we shouting at them? Well, now they're agitated. Well, that's not helpful. Like you said, let's be polite and respectful. But I love the fact that we've been made by God in so many wonderfully, beautifully unique and diverse ways. We are different. Our bodies are different. And what we enjoy is different. And what we enjoy over time changes too, including music, sounds, and stuff. Thank you, Anne. This is a fun chat.
As ever. Thank you.
Heavy metal music. Anne Laure Jackson wants to be a heavy metal singer. If anybody wants to have her voice, you can get in touch. I do know some heavy metal bands I can put you in touch with. That would be a fun challenge. That's one I'd come to. Anyway, Anne Laure Jackson, thank you. If you want to connect with Anne, if you've got any questions for her on anything we've said today or anything else sensory healthy related, you can send those, or you can contact her. She offers help around the globe. Just go to pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org /ALJ. And you'll be glad to know, Anne, I put some music in after our conversation. So a new band for Kingdom's Cause, Lisa Hartley, this brilliant music. We've interviewed her and her drummer, Dan. So it's hard rock. Okay, so we've got hard rock coming from For Kingdom's Cause. And then we go in the opposite way, which I love doing. One of the tracks from Mamma Mia, Dancing Queen, originally from ABBA. So that's the nice difference that we have here on Pure 24/7 Radio. Anne Laure Jackson of Santé on Jersey. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, sir.